What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Sao Paulo. We got Jailton Almeida going against Derek Lewis.
I need all the wins, yeah. All that and all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another DraftKings video this week. We are in Brazil, Sao Paulo, after a 1-week break. Looking forward to getting right back into it. Looking forward to the month of November. I think it's a great month full of fights. We got Sao Paulo this week. We got UFC 295 next week. So yeah, really looking forward to this month and to this card. A card that's really stacked from top to bottom. We got 13 fights on it. Really looking forward to breaking it all down. Before we get into it though, if you guys can please do me a favor, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We're going to be posting more content throughout the week, going live a couple times Friday and Saturday as well, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on all of that. If you do want extra content, or if you do want to support me more, go to dfsbythenumbers.com. There you'll see all the content that is not on YouTube, the fighter stats, the targets, projections, ownership projections, rankings. I do some prize picks on there as well, and then my DFS article, and then also my lineup optimizer, and everything is out for this week. Was a little bit delayed this week because we did have the Ribovic's fight fall off, but now I'm all caught up and ready to go. So other than that, be sure to check out Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code DFSBTN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. It helps me, it helps you, it's free money, and I'll also talk about my favorite underdog play later in the video. But with all that out of the way, guys, I say we get into it. We're going to start with the fight doesn't go to decision lines as always, and up top, we have the widest fight doesn't go to decision I have ever seen. Minus 3,000 for the Almeida-Lewis fight doesn't go to decision. And on DraftKings Sportsbook, they actually have it at minus 10,000, which is, it's hilarious. So it's safe to say that, this fight is going to finish inside the distance. This fight is probably going to finish within the first 5 minutes. And yeah, I like the Almeida side. He's 9,600. He's very expensive, but you can never count out a guy like Derek Lewis. It seems like in any fight whatsoever, it seems like there's a lot of bad matchups for him, this being one of them, but all it really takes is one big shot. So I think Lewis cannot be ignored, especially at this price tag, but it's really hard to overlook how much of an advantage Jailton Almeida does have on the ground, and it could be like a one takedown, the fight's over type situation. So I'm going to be trying to get as much of these two in my lineups as possible. Heavy lean towards Almeida, but Derek Lewis at 6,600 is the best pump play on the slate. Next, we got Gabriel Bonfim going against Nicholas Dalby. Yeah, it's one-sided action here for me. On the Gabriel Bonfim side, 9,300. I think it's kind of generous. He's 200 cheaper than his brother Ismael Bonfim, and I do like Gabriel a lot more. Gabriel has more finishing upside in my opinion. Gabriel Bonfim has a 100% finish rate, and although Dalby's never been finished officially, I think that finish is probably coming here. Not getting to Dalby, 6,900. I think Bonfim goes out there and finishes Dalby, and I think it's by submission. I think it's potentially early as well within those first 2 rounds. So I like Gabriel Bonfim, and I don't think he's too crazy expensive there. And then we have Eduardo Mara going against Montserrat Ruiz. Again, one-sided action here, if anything. They have the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 200 for a strawweight fight, which is very interesting. We typically don't see that for a strawweight fight, but, Montserrat Ruiz has been finished a couple times throughout her career. Lemos finished her, Amarim finished her in her last fight, and, Mara is going to be 6 inches taller, 6-inch reach advantage. Mara should be able to get this fight down to the mat at will, and when she does, Mara has good ground and pound and a good submission game to go along with it. So I agree. I think this fight probably does end inside the distance, but I think if it does, it's Mara. I don't really see Ruiz finishing this fight. So not touching Montserrat Ruiz. I think Mara, 9,400, there's better options, but I don't think she's the worst option up there in that 9K range. And then we got Armin Petrosyan going against Rodolfo Vieira, a fight that I do want to target on both sides here. It's a striker versus grappler matchup. And typically in these striker versus grappler matchups, they're good fights to target. Whoever gets their way is going to go out there and have a solid score. If Rodolfo Vieira gets his way, it's probably a first or second round sub. And if Petrosyan gets his way, it means he's able to survive on the mat, stuff some takedowns, and potentially get a late finish. So I think both sides are in play. I personally prefer the Vieira side. For one, he's cheaper, and 2, I think he has more finishing upside, and 3, he has all the grappling upside. So I like Vieira more, but I think Petrosyan, if he does win, I think it's potential late finish there for him. So I think both guys are in play in that one. All right, moving on to the core plays. We'll talk about Jailton Almeida once again. 9,600. I mean, this guy is an animal. He's a guy that was supposed to be fighting at light heavyweight. He moved up to heavyweight a couple fights ago against Parker Porter and hasn't really looked back since. It seems like he's putting on some size, weighing in around the 230 range nowadays. And I remember when he weighed in like 201 for a light heavyweight fight. So he's putting on some size. That's good. You know, it's a fight where if Derek Lewis does not knock him out within like the first 20 seconds, he's probably going to win the fight. One takedown could be about it. And Derek Lewis, you know, there are times where he's able to just kind of stand back up against some of these other guys, like even like an Alexei Oleinik, a Bagloy Ivanov, Alir Latifi, you know, guys like that. I don't know if that's going to work against Jailton Almeida. Like Derek Lewis literally lets you get into mount. I mean, I think Jailton Almeida is going to get on top and finish Lewis shortly after, but he's going to have to watch out for that big shot because I have a feeling Lewis is going to go after it very early. I can see Lewis, you know, trying for another flying knee. I think that would be wise, actually, trying for an, you know, uppercut on the way in. You know, so as long as Almeida does, you know, get this fight down to the mat without, you know, getting completely destroyed within the first 20 seconds, I think he rolls here and puts up probably the biggest score on the slate. So give me Almeida, 9,600. Very, very important to target in this main event. I'd be shocked if it didn't score well here for either guy that wins. Mark Diakiese, 8,600. This is the first fight on the card. And yeah, I like Diakiese here. You know, money's been coming in on him in terms of the money line throughout the week. He's currently sitting almost to the minus 190 range here. And yeah, he's going against Caio Fernandez, who, you know, he's decent, he's dangerous. But, you know, I think Mark Diakiese is the better fighter. He's fought the much better competition. And if this fight does get extended, I think that heavily favors a guy like Mark Diakiese. Mark Diakiese, he can wrestle now. This is a guy that got like 10 takedowns against Borshev, got like 8 takedowns against Hadzovic, and I think that can definitely be in play here against Caio Fernandez, who has not shown the best cardio or takedown defense. So I think Mark Diakiese's a good play at this price tag of 8,600. We'll talk about his opponent in a little bit. I do think if Fernandez wins, it's probably early, but if he doesn't get it done early, I think Diakiese rolls here. And then next we have a very interesting play. Elvis Brenner was supposed to fight Esteban Ribovics. Ribovics pulled out due to, I think, an injury. And in steps a guy from the Contender Series, Kraszewski. That's such a tough last name to pronounce. Kion Kraszewski, something like that. Either way, I went and taped Kraszewski again. I do remember him a little bit from the Contender Series. He did fight on week number 7. I did pick him to win that fight. Was not expecting him to go out there and win as dominantly as he did. But yeah, he looked good. I do think Kraszewski is the real deal. He's 7,700, but there are some serious things going against him. I mean, he's taken this fight on short notice against the guy in Brenner who is just super tough. Like that's the one thing with Brenner. He's next level tough. He has a ton of heart. He has good cardio. So Kraszewski, if he had a full camp, then I think I might even pick him outright. But I feel like Brenner's able to kind of hang in there, take over as the fight goes on, and potentially even finish Kraszewski later down the stretch there. So I don't mind some Brenner, 8,200. The only thing is he's going to be super popular because he's like minus 200 at the 8,200 price tag. So we're getting some value there. So yeah, I think you kind of got to play him because if he does win, he's going to completely smoke that salary of 8,200. So I like some Brenner here, but I don't think his opponent's some bum just coming in on short notice. And then Gabriel Bonfim, 9,300. Another player I really like this week. Like I said, he's cheaper than his brother, which I like. He's cheaper than Mara, which I like. He's even cheaper than Almeida, which I like. You know, Bonfim, money's been pouring on him throughout the week. I think he currently is the biggest favorite on the card, and he's not even the highest salary priced guy on the slate. So I think we're getting some value here with Bonfim, 9,300. Has a 100% finish rate. He's dangerous everywhere the fight goes. One of the best opportunistic submission games I've seen. Like when this guy goes for a sub, he gets it 9 out of 10 times. So yeah, I think Bonfim rolls here. I think Bonfim gets a finish as well, and I think he's smashes this price tag of 9,300. Moving on to the GPP plays here. Eduardo Mara, we talked about her a little bit. I think she rolls here. There are some question marks in terms of we don't have a ton of footage out there of Mara, but we do have a ton of footage of Ruiz, and that footage isn't great. Mara should be able to use her size, get this fight down to the mat, and dominate, and probably finish as well. I guess what I like about Mara compared to Almeida or Bonfim is I think she's going to be much lower owned than those two fighters. So, yeah, I think Mara is definitely in play. I'll have a fair share of her, and I think she has some finish upside as well. Next, we got Rinat Fakhretdinov, 9,100. I think Fakhretdinov is one of the best plays on the slate this week at this price tag. Fakhretdinov is a DraftKings scoring monster. This guy's averaging 122 DraftKings points per fight in a 3-fight sample. He went out there, controlled Brian Battle for 14 minutes. He went out there and controlled Andreas Michailidis for like 14 minutes, and then he finished Kevin Lee in like 60 seconds. So, yeah, Fakhretdinov, he has power on the feet to knock you down, and then he has incredible wrestling. He has incredible control, and he can very well go out there, get a bunch of takedowns, a bunch of control time, some ground strikes, and I think if he wins, he's probably one of the top 2 scorers of the slate. I think it's between him and like Almeida this week. So, yeah, I think Rinat Fakhretdinov, especially at this price tag, cheaper than Mara, cheaper than both Bonfim, cheaper than Almeida even. I think Renat's a very good play this week. And then we got Denise Gomes, 8,400. I'm not picking her here. I'm actually picking Hill with very little confidence. It's probably my least confident pick on the card. But in terms of a DraftKings play, I do lean towards the Gomez side just because if she does win, it's potentially a finish. Angela Hill, she's never been knocked out, but she has been hurt and hurt a lot lately. And Denise Gomes, she has a ton of power. And even if she does go out there and win a decision, I don't think she scores too terribly. She has high volume. I don't think she has much grappling, but it's that power. Maybe she can get a knockdown or two. But yeah, I think all the finishing upside's on the Gomes side. So if there is a finish, I think it's from her, and I don't mind some Gomes. Not my favorite play in the world, not my favorite fight to target, but it's hard to ignore somebody that hits as hard as Gomes in the strawweight division against, say, aging Angela Hill. So I'm picking Angela Hill, but I don't like Angela Hill for DraftKings. I think her path to victory is kind of a point-fighting 3-round decision that's not going to score well, whereas with Gomes, she has knockout upside for a strawweight. So give me some Gomes here. Gonna have a little bit of her. And then Vitor Petrino, 9,000. I just feel like Petrino has a lot of ways to win this fight. I feel like he has wrestling upside. This guy's a wrestler now, apparently, and he's a very good wrestler as well. And then he always has and always will have that ridiculous power. And we've seen Bukauskas knocked out many times in the UFC. So I feel like Petrino can go out there and win a 15-minute decision via wrestling, which would score well. Or I feel like Petrino can simply just take off Mendes' head, and that'll score well also. So I think Petrino's very much in play, has multiple paths to scoring pretty decent. All right, we'll move on to the Underdog play of the week. Not a ton sticking out on Underdog, but I do like this play here. Bonfim higher than 11 minutes. He's going against Vince Pichel, who's very tough. Pichel has been finished twice in the UFC, but once was against Gregor Gillespie by submission. Bonfim is not submitting Pichel, in my opinion. And then the other one was a slam a long time ago. So yeah, I think Bonfim's good. I think Bonfim wins this fight, but in terms of getting a finish, I don't think it happens, and I absolutely don't think Pichel's finishing Bonfim either. So I like Bonfim to use his striking, takedown defense, keep it upright, and outpoint Pichel across 3 rounds. And I think that higher than 11 minutes fight time is very much in play this week. If you want to check that out and much, much more, go to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code DFSBTN, get yourself a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. It helps me, it helps you, and it is free money there. All right, moving on to the live dogs, we got Rodolfo Vieira, 7,900. We talked about this fight a little bit earlier. It's a striker versus grappler matchup. Whoever's going to get their way is going to score very well. And Vieira has finish upside. I think all but one of Vieira's wins come in the first 2 rounds. Like if he takes Petrosyan down, the fight could be over shortly after. And we know that that's very much on the table considering Petrosyan has like a 30% takedown defense. So at the very least here, Rodolfo Vieira should be getting a lot of submission opportunities early. Of course, we always got to worry about the gas tank, but we're not playing him to go out there and get a decision. We're playing him to go out there and get a first or second round submission. So I don't mind some Vieira at all at this price tag of 7,900. Next, we got Victor Hugo, 7,300. Kind of like a Vieira to an extent. This is a guy in Hugo who's like a wizard on the mat. This guy's ground game is incredible. I think he's going to want to get the fight down to the ground in this fight here against Daniel Marcos, who's a very good striker. But yeah, Victor Hugo, this guy has every submission in the book. He has heel hooks, he has knee bars, triangles, arm bars, rear naked choke. You look through this guy's record. This guy has a ton of submissions on his record. Very, very high-level grappler. And if he's able to get Daniel Marcos down early on, the sub is going to be very live. I do worry about the gas tank, though, of Hugo. I think if he doesn't get it done in round 1, he's probably done. But I think he has a lot of upside here at 7,300, and I think he's a very live dog, at least for the first half of the fight. And then we got Caio Fernandez, 7,600. So yeah, I like Diakese, and I like Diakese quite a bit, but if Fernandez does win this fight, it's probably in the first round. It's probably by submission or club and sub. We've seen Diakese get club and sub like 3 times in the UFC, and Fernandez is a good grappler. Fernandez has some power, but I think outside the first round, he doesn't really have much to offer. The one fight I did watch where it did go outside the first round, he looked very tired. He was getting taken down left and right. So yeah, I think Fernandez can go out here and maybe have some success, maybe find a finish early on. If he does, he's going to break the slate. But like I said, I'm more so on the Diakese side this week. And then Dontel May, 7,400. I like Nascimento to win this fight, but it's a sloppy heavyweight fight. Mays has power, and Nascimento, although I think it's a good matchup, although it's a rematch that he already won, this is a heavyweight fight at the end of the day. So I don't mind Mays at this price tag. He's going to be low owned, and he has power, and if he does win, it's probably some type of finish here. So I don't mind some Mays there at this price tag. And then we got some pump plays here. Abus Magomedov, 7,000. There's a lot of guys on this slate where it's like they're round 1 or bust type guys, and this is one of them. I think Abus Magomedov is the definition of a round 1 or bust type guy. We saw how good he was in the first round against Sean Strickland. He's probably going to win this first round. Does he finish Caio? I lean towards no, but if he wins, it's probably a first round finish nonetheless. So I will be sprinkling some Magomedov at this price tag, 7,000. The cardio worries me very, very much, but we'll see if he can go out there and get the early finish. Or, at the very least, maybe win 2 rounds, lose the third, something like that. But I think he is a live dog, at least early on, at least. And then Derek Lewis is always a pump play. He's always in play against anybody in the world. And I don't like the matchup for him, but I've said that in many Derek Lewis fights where I'm like, oh, I don't like the matchup for him, and he goes out there and knocks guys out. I mean, I remember being so confident in Curtis Blades a couple years ago, and we all know how that ended there. So I'll never ignore Derek Lewis on a slate ever, especially at this price tag. The majority of my lineups are going to have Almeida, but in terms of a pump play, Derek Lewis must be looked at this week. And then fades, Ismail Bonfim, 9,400. There's so many better options here. We got Almeida, 200 more. We got Gabriel Bonfim, 200 less. We got even Kyle Bahai, who I didn't really talk about on this video. Fakhretdinov, I like much, much more. Vitor Petrino, I like much, much more. Mara, I like more. I just think there's better options here, and I don't think Bonfim goes out there and starches Vince Pichel like a lot of people think. So I'm going to be fading Ismail Bonfim. I think there's better options this week. And yeah, guys, there you have it. That is the video for UFC Sao Paulo. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys could please do me a favor, leave a like on your way out, subscribe on your way out, and check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Now's a great time to sign up. We got November, a card full or a month full of very good fights. Sao Paulo this week, 295 next week. There you'll find my stats, targets, projections, ownership projections, rankings, articles, optimizer, and much, much more. And it also helps support the channel. So you guys, best of luck. And we'll talk to y'all very soon. Enjoy UFC Sao Paulo. See you later.